Hi, my name's Bo and I live an alcohol-free lifestyle, and welcome to the Beautiful Savage channel, where together we discover how to put the world in front of us and alcohol behind us. The topic of today's discussion is discipline and self-control, the attributes that money can't buy. Thank you for joining in today. This is such an important topic that I'd like to discuss, discipline and self-control, because for so many of us, the road to becoming alcohol-free is not really a linear path. I think most people, when they try to quit drinking alcohol, they realize that it's quite a bit of a learning process. So there were actually so many times that I tried to quit drinking, and then I realized that after a while I would kind of think to myself, I think maybe I could drink or I could control it. It's real easy to get caught up in situations like happy hour and things with friends or celebratory activities where you kind of get pulled in that direction. So for some of us, we end up going back to drinking and then realizing that it's not a good idea and that we just ultimately need to stay away from it. And also, if you're anything like me, you'll discover that trying to control drinking is often much more stressful than just quitting altogether. I kind of learned that the hard way, and now I've just completely put it behind me. And I'm so proud of where I am with that. But when I look in retrospect of how I got to the point that I am now and my road and my journey to quit drinking, one thing that I ultimately realized was that for me, my road to success had to be paved in discipline. And this is what this episode's about today, so I hope you get a lot of benefit from it, and I hope this helps you in your road to becoming alcohol-free as well. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but when I learn new traits and new characteristics, and when mentors and people have imparted awesome knowledge on me, I can tell you that I respond best to tough love. Anytime anybody's just kind of given me a pat on the back or hugged it out with me, it seems like it hasn't worked too well. But when somebody's just been real straight and direct with me and said, hey, Bo, you know, maybe you should think about this, or maybe you should pull this back a little bit, that's what helped me the most. So I'm going to provide a little bit of tough love here, and I hope it helps you. I hope you respond well to it. But from my experiences, I'm going to share some things that are really direct. And I think that's actually what we need to really get to the finish line and become alcohol-free for ourselves. So here we go. And in the spirit of keeping things direct, kind of tough love, the reality is that your best friends will really share the things with you that actually help you grow and help your growth. So that's what I'm here to do. So some of these may be really hard truths, but it's the hard times that through growth lead to the easy times. And that's ultimately what discipline's all about. It's about gearing up, facing those hard truths, those things that we have to battle in life. And if we do those properly and keep at it, keep pushing towards these goals, then the easiness will come at the end. That's really the reward for discipline. And it's kind of like that concept that all human greatness comes from suffering. So the reality here as well is that we all face hard things in our life, but if we can examine those things, learn from them, grow from them, and then rise above them, then we come out stronger in the end. That's what this is all about. Okay, so I've got a little activity for you guys. So before I really share my concept and my vision and how discipline and self-control helped me to become alcohol-free, I'd like you to take just a moment to pause. Okay, let's just kind of slow our minds down and pause for a minute and take a moment to look within. In this pause, take a few minutes to look inward, examine yourself, and determine the areas of your life where you could apply discipline. And the reality is you probably already know what those things are. I think it's pretty common that we ultimately know what our struggles are, but just kind of like we might see red flags in relationships or in things that we do, I think it's kind of common for us to override those things and kind of push them aside or sweep them under the rug. But I'd really like you to just pause for a second. So even if you need to pause your remote and just like pause this video for a second, give yourself a couple minutes. This is my challenge to you. So as we go through this conversation, you can reflect back on these ideas and these areas in your life that might need a little bit of an attention and improvement. And we know alcohol is one of those things, but the beauty is this can relate to so many things in your life. So give yourself a couple minutes, examine yourself, look within, look at the areas where growth needs to happen, and that's where we're going to apply these concepts of discipline to. Okay, so you're back. So have you identified some areas that need some work? We're of course going to be talking about living an alcohol-free lifestyle, but we're all growing together, so we all have areas that we need to work on. And the reality is too, is that every single one of us out there is holding traumas and scars and basically how we've responded to life and how we've navigated life so far. And often we get off track a little bit. I think that's just the reality of being a human being living on planet Earth for our very first time, is we're ultimately trying to learn, do the very best that we can. And when things come our way, learn how to take a look at them, examine them, and see how we can rise above them and grow and become a better person. On this note of looking within, I think one of the most important things that I have realized is that we really have to take time in our lives to look within and examine ourselves, really slow down. And I know that so many of you guys and people that might be listening, you've got kids that you've got to take to baseball practice and, you know, music lessons and school, and you've got a significant other that you're dealing with. So it might be hard for some of you guys to carve out some time to do this, but I think when it comes to growth, it is one of the most crucial things, is taking time out, slow yourself down, listen to your thoughts, connect with your heart, connect with your spirit, and listen to that inner voice. And I think that when you do that and you can connect with yourself, you can start to examine yourself and identify where some of these problems lie, and that's how we're going to kind of iron things out. And then, like the topic of this discussion, we're going to apply discipline and self-control to these things that you've identified, and ultimately you're going to use these things to level up, and ultimately you're going to use these things to become alcohol-free in your daily life, and what freedom that's going to be. So once all these areas are identified, then we can apply what we've identified to our life. We can create a design for our path to become alcohol-free, and this is ultimately where the growth's going to happen. Okay, so we're going to give this design a name, and that name is going to be discipline. Okay, so why is this important? It's important for a lot of reasons, because there are things in our life that we know that we can do to improve ourselves. Okay, so like, let's say we're going to go to the gym and get our body in shape, or we're going to be very conscious and practice self-control in what we put in our body, in this case being alcohol, but it could also be food. There are so many areas of our life that we can apply discipline. Now, why I think it's important to just name this design for ourselves discipline is because this. So I'm going to share something personal. So I've always been really active. So sometimes when it's time for me to go to the gym, I go to the gym like 5 days a week, but every single day I do something active, whether that's walk or ride my bike or go to the gym. Every single day I'm doing something active, something to improve my body. But there will be days that I'm like laying on my couch and everything's comfortable. I'm in my home, I'm in my safe place, and I'll get that feeling like, hey, I don't want to do this today. Like I feel like I'm kind of dragging. But really and truly, and this is why it's important to call this discipline, it's because whenever I have those feelings, it's not necessarily the gym that is driving me. It's the discipline that's driving me. I realize that this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing to improve myself, and that's going to the gym a certain amount of days a week, or going for walks, or riding my bike. So I don't necessarily think of it as I'm going to the gym, or I'm going on a bike ride, or I'm going out to do something healthy. I actually think about it as I'm practicing my discipline. because the discipline is what I'm trying to apply to my life to become stronger. And that's why I'd love for you to think about it and conceptualize it the same way, because you might find it as helpful as it's helped me. It's discipline time. It's not necessarily gym time or outdoor time or doing something healthy for my body time. It's discipline time. And it's that moment where I focus on the discipline of the activity that pushes me forward, because I know internally what's most important to me, what's going to keep me healthy, what's going to keep my mind and my body and my spirit where I need to be, is practicing discipline. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to apply to my life to help maintain my alcohol-free abstinence. So it's so important to kind of shift your thinking, and I'm not necessarily just going to the gym for gym reasons, or I'm just not drinking for not drinking reasons, but I'm also practicing this attribute that's going to make me strong and powerful, and that's discipline. So I look at it as like, this is discipline time. This isn't gym time. And the gym benefits are kind of just the cherry on top. It makes your body look good. It makes you strong and agile and fit. And I encourage you to do those things too. So let's begin by examining discipline in a way where we can use it as a framework for our success. And we can use it to conceptualize how we're going to make progress in living an alcohol-free lifestyle. So not only discipline is going to be an attribute for us, but we're going to use it as a tool to move forward, so we can go back and kind of pull discipline from our quiver of tools and apply it to all aspects of our alcohol-free lifestyle. Once we identify the areas of need where we can improve on discipline, in this case, alcohol-free living, but it could also apply to so many other things in your life, then we can condition ourselves through repetition, and then mastery begins to take shape, and we really start to become a disciplined individual. These practices will lead you to start making disciplined decisions that will only serve you and help you in the long run, and that is what this is about. It's about making disciplined decisions that serve you in the long run. And I think that we all have recognized at this point that what is going to serve us best in the long run is practicing discipline to live an alcohol-free lifestyle. So the long run is what we're after here. It's the results of the discipline. And this is why discipline is such an important aspect of our alcohol-free lifestyle. The discipline is going to lead to the results, and the results are going to be is you're going to end up leveling up to exactly who you want to be and exactly who you know you can be in your heart, and discipline is going to get us there. It's going to help us level up to be the highest, most vibed up, disciplined individual we can be. And then we can live our alcohol-free lifestyle in peace and harmony. It's all going to come together in the end. And the beauty about discipline and self-control is that you can actually apply it to all aspects of your life. And I know right now we're focused on how to use discipline and self-control in our alcohol-free lifestyle and to live alcohol-free and to become completely abstinent from the drug. But the beauty is you can apply this to all different aspects of your life. The way discipline truly works with us is it kind of trickles down into all areas of our life. If you end up becoming a disciplined individual as you focus on alcohol-free living, the reality is that discipline is going to kind of echo into all other aspects of your life, just making you the best person you could possibly be. Who doesn't want to be a disciplined person? This is where it's at, I promise you. Okay, so this is where the hard truths come in. This is where I've got to be really direct, especially looking at my own life in retrospect, is that if you're not living a disciplined life, then ultimately you're living in weakness. Without discipline and self-control, it becomes very hard to regulate your own behaviors and your own desires. This leads to impulsive and problematic behaviors, obviously, especially with alcohol, but again, to all other aspects of your life. And the unfortunate thing is the undisciplined person who's drinking often, once they get under the influence of alcohol, start to make even more undisciplined behaviors and choices because of what alcohol does to our decision making. So we want to avoid this completely by leveling up as much as we can, by practicing discipline, by fostering these attributes for ourselves, and ultimately just becoming a completely well-rounded, disciplined person. So these behaviors we want to completely avoid, and we're going to do that by leveling up and becoming disciplined. That is our goal. To become alcohol-free and to live your very best life, we have to foster, we have to master discipline in our lives. We have to evolve from that weak state that we've been living in to a strong, dynamic, disciplined person. That is the gap that we are trying to narrow here and focus on. But not that long ago, I saw this quote from Hippocrates that I'm going to share with you guys, and I hope it resonates with you the same way it resonates with me. And that is, everyone wants to heal until the medicine shows up in the form of discipline. And what a beautiful and amazing quote. And the interesting thing is that obviously was quoted so long ago. It's a Hippocrates quote, but how applicable it is today. Because I think that humans haven't really changed that much. I think the reality is we've probably all struggled with the same wants, needs, and desires that we have for thousands of years. But isn't it so true? If you kind of look at your life and the people maybe in your life or that you can kind of even look on social media and see reflections of this. But really and truly, we all have things that we're struggling with. We all have traumas. We all have things that we're dealing with. And so many people want to change, but they don't know how to put that change in motion. Just like the quote says, everyone wants to heal until the medicine shows up in the form of discipline. And the reality is, and especially when living an alcohol-free lifestyle, an undisciplined person is not going to get there. You have got to buckle down and you've got to work on that discipline, that inner self-control. Those are the elements that are going to help get you to the finish line and then also help you maintain living an alcohol-free lifestyle. But really and truly, before we start on this road, and that's why I said, like, when I looked back at my alcohol-free life and the decision that I made, especially when I made the ultimate decision, like, hey, I'm not going to try to control it. I'm not going to take little breaks. I'm actually just going to completely quit. I don't need this in my life. It's not serving me. It's not helping me make good decisions. Nothing fruitful has come from the outcome of me drinking. What I ultimately realized was that the changes that I needed to make, just like the quote said, was ultimately through discipline. It wasn't just like, hey, I need to quit drinking. I knew that. What I really needed to do was buckle down and get real serious about the discipline needed to quit drinking. Okay, so if you're still listening to this message, you're actually practicing discipline right now. So way to go. So what we're going to really try to do is we're going to put this discipline into practice. We're going to gather and muster our strength up so that we can make disciplined choices. We're going to look within, and like I had you pause the video a little earlier, I want you to apply those areas in your life that you identified. And now we're going to layer that with discipline and look at what we can do to become a more disciplined individual and what we ultimately can do to become alcohol-free. So the reality with these videos too is I don't really know where you are in your process. I just recently turned 1.5 years alcohol-free, and every single day is a part of my path to living an alcohol-free lifestyle. So if you guys are at the very beginning of becoming alcohol-free, if you're contemplating living an alcohol-free lifestyle, maybe you're a couple months in and you're looking for advice, heck, maybe you've been sober or alcohol-free for years, and I think it's so important as a community that we stick together, we listen to each other's stories, we learn from each other. I've got so many mentors out there that I've learned from, that I look up to, that I look to their guidance to help me along the way. So really and truly, we're all in this together. But no matter where you are, and I actually want to speak to some of you guys that are at the beginning of your alcohol-free journey, and that there's gonna be discomfort in this path, in this life that we're living, because the truth is that we have to be comfortable and be disciplined in saying no. You've got to make a lot of life changes. I know for so many people that reach out to me and ask me about living an alcohol-free lifestyle, one of the biggest hurdles for them is the fact that what they're used to, like meeting friends for drink after work or barbecuing on the weekend with a cooler full of beer, going, whatever you do, you've got to switch that lifestyle that you've been living that kind of revolved around alcohol, or if alcohol was the common denominator, to a completely new one for yourself. So for so many people, there's immediate discomfort because there has to be change. And change is a discomfort feeling for a lot of us. A lot of us, that's what we get used to. We get used to the place that we've been in, and we want to avoid change. So this is my message for you. I very much know and sympathize with you because I'm right there as well. Trust me, we're more in this together than we are apart. But if you have used alcohol in your life to find ease from pain or trauma, or just that's what you've known, and in your mind you think that's where I go for a good time or to fit in, or it's your crutch or it's your vice, for whatever reason that you're using it, now is the time to focus on how you can let that go, and discipline is going to be your strongest tool in your toolbox. So it's totally fine, to be quite honest with you. I think now that I've been alcohol-free for so long, I think ultimately it truly was never about fun for me. I think the reality is that I've had pains and traumas in my life, and when I poured alcohol on those pains and traumas, it numbed those things. It took those emotions, it replaced them with new ones, and it made me feel numb to the issues that I was feeling. I think I was using alcohol to self-medicate. And if you are like I am, or whatever reason that you've used alcohol for as some sort of crutch or vice, it's important that we embrace this discomfort that this change is going to lead us to. It's a change in your life. It's a shift. It's a pivot. So there will be some discomfort there, but it's important that we embrace the discomfort. And it's through this relationship of discipline and discomfort that your strongest self begins to take shape and emerge. So I've got another challenge for you. So now let's take a moment to look at our habits. So feel free to pause the video for a second here if you need to as well, and reflect on what you do habitually, and not what you think you do, but what you actually do. Really take an honest look at what your day looks like, how it unfolds. So I think for some of us, we can kind of convince ourselves that our day or our week is made up of things that it may actually not be. I know that sounds kind of strange, but I just think it's a little trick that we play on ourselves. So really and truly, pause this video right now if you need to for a second, and really look at your habits. Like, what do you do right when you get off work? Or when it comes to drinking, do you start thinking about happy hour at lunchtime? Or like habitually, what are your habits? And what are you doing healthy? What are you doing that's not healthy? So take a moment, examine your habits for a second, and then let's discuss that. So have you sorted out your habits a little bit? And here's the interesting thing about habits too. It's not just what happens physically in your day-to-day life, but it's also the contents of your mind. So habitually, what are you doing throughout the day in an activity way, but then also what kind of habitual things are you doing that affects your mind? Kind of side note on that, I recently saw this thing that was talking about like people that habitually watch serial killer, like Dateline and murder mystery things, and like kind of what it says about their psychology. So that's kind of what I mean by that. Like maybe even the books you read, the music you listen to, what kind of habitual things do you do in your daily life that affects the contents of your mind? That's really important when it comes to discipline, our moral compass, the trajectory that we're on, and how we're living our daily life is like, what are we putting in our mind that affects our thinking as well? Okay, so now that you've taken a couple moments to examine your habits, remember that what you focus on expands. So where are the areas that you can become more disciplined based on your habits? And I'll share something with you. So whenever I became alcohol-free, I really focused on these things. The contents of my mind, what I was allowing in my headspace. It was really important that I basically kind of clean that up. And in a lot of ways, this is what this video is about. It's an exercise to clean our lives up, to take control of ourselves, and to ultimately live in freedom. So as I began my journey, I realized that it wasn't really gonna serve me to sit around and think about alcohol, because I removed myself from the situations that I was in, happy hours and things like that, so I could focus on living an alcohol-free lifestyle. But I also had to replace those habits with new habits. So one thing that I did, especially when I first quit, is that I spent a lot of time walking on the trail in Fort Worth, where I live. I knew that if I was out in the sunshine with the wind blowing on me, with birds chirping and the river right there and around trees and just walking in nature, that I'd find a lot of healing from that. So that's kind of what I mean by examining like our habits, because what I'm going to impress upon you is that you take some of those old habits and replace them with new, healthy ones. It's going to be one of the healthiest things that you can do to keep you on track, and it's a form of practicing discipline in your day-to-day life. On that note, right before I quit drinking, I kept seeing this meme and it kept showing up in my life. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm the type that if things keep showing up over and over and over, I kind of ask myself, like, is this the universe trying to show me a message? I don't know. I just kind of feel like I'm getting advice from the universe sometimes based on patterns that I see. So I kept seeing this meme, and you guys may have seen this meme as well. And it literally, it was like every single day right before I quit drinking, I would see this meme, and it was something to the effect of disappear and vanish for 6 months. Work on your body, work on your finances, quit drinking, eat healthy, go to the gym, and 99% of your problems will go away. Some of the memes kind of said something to that point about leveling up in all aspects, and then kind of like show back up in society and then see how people respond to you. It was an interesting meme, and I thought to myself, because I knew it was like the time frame when I wanted to quit drinking, and I just kept seeing this in my face. And I literally was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm literally going to like disappear, get into the gym real hard, get outside real hard, focus on leveling up, get my finances in order, quit drinking, eat super healthy. And I was like, I'm gonna devote 6 months to this and really see what happens in my life. And it's actually fully what I did. And the reality is 99% of my problems really did go away. But ultimately, I think it was drinking was the biggest problem that led to other poor decision making and things like that. But I know that for anybody watching this, like, you can't just vanish. You've got, like I said, maybe a husband, wife, or kids, or a family, or, a lot of responsibilities. But you could kind of look at your own version of this and kind of like, what are some big discipline moves that I could make in my life that if I just changed like maybe 3 things or even 2 things and became really disciplined in these activities and these focuses in my life, what would the end result be after 6 months? And what we're ultimately here to do is get everybody on an alcohol-free path. I really and truly believe that this alcohol-free lifestyle is a movement that as more and more people catch on to the benefits of it, there's just been so many people in my life that have actually kind of watched my personal transformation and come to me asking for advice, just some knowledge on what they can do in their life to improve their lives. So I think we all, like internally, we all know what we're capable of. We just have to buckle down with discipline to become that ultimate vision of ourselves that we see for ourselves. And that is going to happen through our actions, through how we're living our life, through our behaviors, and ultimately the foundation of that is going to be built on discipline. After like the 6 months was over, so now I had like 6 months of alcohol-free living under my belt. I actually had like lost all this weight. I grew my hair out. My hair was really short when I started, and just like the meme said, I kind of like showed back up in society after I really buckled down and did all this work, and people were like, oh my goodness, you look different, like completely. You know, it's so crazy when you quit drinking, like what it does to your physical body. My eyes look kinder, like your skin gets real clear. There's so many beautiful things that actually happens to your physique. But out of this evolution, a person of discipline was created. And that is what I hold so valuable from this whole exercise that I did, was that it truly led to a disciplined individual that went from the evolution of living a life in weakness, that's the reality, to a disciplined life of strength. Ultimately, how it all happened was I developed from weakness to strength from a lot of time of introspection. And that was a beautiful part about this 6-month period too, is I spent so much time focused and in isolation on building myself up that I was really allowed to explore my heart and what had gone on in my life. I was no longer dumping alcohol on my feelings and emotions, and I had connected with myself in a way that I hadn't in so many years. And that's where I ended up evolving into this solid system of discipline for myself, and it's just been the world's most beneficial thing for me personally. And that's why I want to share this, is because I want that for you as well. Through my experience, my belief is that you can truly become successful in living an alcohol-free lifestyle, but discipline must be your foundation for your success. When I look back on the times that I had tried to quit drinking and then failed, ultimately those reasons weren't because I didn't want to quit drinking. It was because I didn't have the right systems and models in place to be successful. So now I look back in retrospect and was like, you know, what were those things that helped keep me on the right path? And ultimately, it was getting really honest with myself through that period and that exercise of looking internally of where I needed to buckle down and hone discipline, and add that to a part of my life where I knew that I could not move forward successfully if I did not have my discipline in check. So really and truly, this is the most important aspect of living an alcohol-free lifestyle, is really engaging with and really fostering and mastering discipline in your own life, and how you can apply discipline to all aspects of your life, in this case, alcohol-free living. And then the beauty of it all is that I began to see that discipline was not only the key to my alcohol-free success, but also connected me to a greater sense of self-respect, internal love, wisdom, and an enlightened mind. And so many beautiful attributes came from becoming disciplined in really an extreme way that was so far beyond just living an alcohol-free lifestyle. It really just added to every aspect of my life in a completely positive way. And then there's the flip side of that, where I looked back and I realized that the times in my life where I wasn't practicing discipline and I wasn't being a disciplined individual led me down a path where I ultimately didn't really recognize myself and my calling and my potential. And that's one of the most interesting and actually beautiful things about becoming alcohol free is that you will get a lot of time during this process to reflect on your alcohol life and your alcohol free life, and you can compare and contrast. And I ultimately think that this is why when people truly make the decision to become alcohol free, people aren't running back to alcohol. It just doesn't happen. I don't know anyone that's truly become alcohol free with discipline. I don't mean they just kind of tried to quit and then it didn't work out, but they were disciplined about their choice and become alcohol free. You don't really go back to alcohol after you've made this choice, because you can look back in retrospect in such clarity and see the decisions, you can see the behaviors, you can see the weakness, and you realize, I'm not going back to that. I went from down here, this is the plane that I was on, to I went way up here, and you're not gonna level yourself back down. You've grown too much, you've vibed too high, and you realize this is the potential that I have in here, and this is my worth, and this is my self-respect, and this is what I'm all about, and I'm gonna stick with it. Alcohol is so cunning in its ability to disconnect you from yourself. And if you take it too far, you can lose yourself completely. So that is the importance of discipline. That is what I'm here to share with you completely. So if you're not at that place yet, I'll really, really want to keep you from getting there. And once you become disciplined in your actions, clarity begins to come into focus, and the answers you seek can be explored through self-reflection. And that's what I spent a lot of time doing for myself. And that's why I know that to become successful in living an alcohol-free lifestyle, your foundation has to be built on discipline and self-control. After you start to master discipline and it becomes a part of the fabric of your being, then you can begin to explore your heart and understand what's weighing you down, hurting you, what you may be running from, and the reasons that you might be drinking in the first place. And that is a tricky part of the alcohol-free process, because that is the part that is kind of beautiful and kind of scary at the same time, because you realize that, you know, a lot of the reasons that I was drinking in the first place may have just been running from my emotions, not wanting to square with yourself, not wanting to look within, and that's okay. I think so many people experience that. So it's nothing to be scared of, but I think it's almost something to kind of look forward to, knowing that you're now going to give yourself an opportunity to really learn yourself, and possibly for the very first time in your life. So now take this knowledge and use it for yourself to become alcohol free, and take discipline and self-control and apply it to yourself and to your life. And think of it kind of like you're preparing yourself for battle, wearing the armor of discipline. You're preparing yourself to do the work. Living an alcohol-free lifestyle is work, because alcohol and the influence of alcohol, the opportunities to drink alcohol, they're coming at us every single day from so many different angles. But I'm at a place where I'm very comfortable saying no. I'm very comfortable saying soda water with lime, please. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm not suggesting that for everybody. If you're in a season of your alcohol-free endeavor where you just need to stay away from it so you can work on discipline and self-control and gather that strength up, and like I said, wear that armor when you go out, armored in discipline, so that you can do the work. And that's what this is about. It's about preparing ourselves through systems and models so that we can be successful in our alcohol-free journey. And this is the most beautiful part of this transition, is once you begin to take control of discipline and self-control in your life, you can then create an entirely new blueprint for yourself led by these attributes. So it's almost like a completely new design for yourself, but led with that foundation of discipline and self-control. And once you have discipline and self-control in check, you can then move forward intentionally with your highest sense of purpose. This is where true beauty begins to take shape in your life as you begin to wake up to all the possibilities of who you can be. Because if you're anything like me, I always realized that alcohol was dimming my flame. I always realized that there was this big dynamic spirit within me, but I just kept snuffing it out with alcohol. I realized that I was hiding from traumas. I realized I was running away from pains and hurts. And I think a lot of people out there that are drinking know exactly how I feel and know what that's like. So the beauty is that your life is full of endless possibilities once you just push the alcohol away. I promise you, the way your life is going to unfold as a disciplined person will make all the difference in the world, and it will make you someone that you are truly proud of yourself. That's where your inner peace and your inner harmony comes from. Once you have that, no one can take it from you. So why do I call these the attributes that money can't buy? Because no matter where you are in life, the amount of money you have, the car you drive, the watch you wear, your level of education, the picture that you paint of yourself on social media, alcohol does not discriminate. Whether it takes you slowly or quickly, alcohol will win. And in the end, no matter who you are or where you came from, the strongest person in the room will always be the individual that walks in with discipline and self-control. And I want you to become that individual. So thank you for listening today. I hope you found some benefit from this message. I would love for you to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm putting out weekly content, and I really hope that you find encouragement from it, and I hope that it helps you get on the path to becoming an alcohol-free individual yourself. And if you know someone out there that might benefit from this message, please share with them. Together we're stronger. Strength and courage, and I'll see you guys next time.